Well, that's what I wanted to say. Look, there's a difference between miracles that you receive, wonderful synchronicities in your life, wonderful provisions, amazing timing in which events just fall together and something new and wonderful happens, like you meet a lovely person or an incredibly helpful person, or opportunities open that you just never dreamt of. Might be very material, like windfalls of money. It might be very spiritual, like you suddenly understand something. And you think, my goodness, that's enriched my life. Now that's a different sort of miracle to I healed Auntie. I raised so-and-so from the dead. I prayed and it rained. That's a sort of in-between one, isn't it? Because you could say in traditional Christian terms, you are giving the glory to God, not I did it. Now there's a tendency with the miracles that are listed in the autobiography of Paramahansa to be miracles that the great masters, so to speak, did. Paramahansa and his mum are looking to Lahiri's photograph to get the healing, not God directly. You could say, well, they see Lahiri as an incarnation of God, but it's not quite the same. It's more associated with the visible look and appearance and physical shape of Lahiri. It's modified greatly, isn't it, by that? The great insights of his guru S0584, like the cauliflower robbery and so on. You feel it's S0584 doing it. It's not God. You don't give, that's what it is. You don't give God the glory. You give the avatar the glory. And really, I don't know what you think, but I don't feel that's the same. I feel that's, if you like, dangerously, to overstate, well, I don't know, perhaps not, dangerously close to giving the praise to man, not to God, and to raising up idols, really. You're making an idol of the master, and you're treating him as God. You obey his every word, even though, as in the reading of people that were disciples of Paramahansa, they give the impression that their minds slightly, offering data that could be critical of, inexplicable things, but he's a master and he knows best sort of thing. But it's a sort of, there's a hidden cynicism, you could say, that that's not quite what you'd expect. And it will be used as information to judge the master. And it is. When, to my mind, immediately when Paramahansa says to Kriyananda, go and boil the water and pour it on an ant's nest to demonstrate that death is not something too important with God, but only the desire to do it. I'm not happy with this sort of method of teaching. As Kriyananda says, poor critters. Our empathy, our sympathy is with the creatures, not with the importance of the learning. I don't like it at all. There are many things like that. I mean, major and continuous is this submissive obedience to the guru. It's not the same as loving God. I'm not even obedient to God. I'm not obedient to my parents. I mean, I am constrained by them as a child, but I kick up occasionally, and and they still love me. And it's not that I have to repent, it's that, well, we wait until he's settled down. And that's what I do with my kids. If they're sort of wanting to run amok, well, to some extent I let it happen until they burn out. And now that, did you feel happy when you did that, love? No, well, it's not good, is it? So you don't want that to happen. I think it's not good for you. It's not happiness. If you've got a problem, I mean, we try and work it out, but sometimes, I mean, I have to overrule because I'm dad, you know, and I can see that you're going to do things that's going to be very harmful, and I have to stop you. Okay, look, you know, we negotiate. We're a loving friend, not a tyrannical emperor. And so much of religion has seen God as the tyrannical king, the emperor, the monarch, isn't it? The Lord over us. Mum was not over me. She was my dearest friend, loved me, and I loved her. You served me. So, beware of miracles that you do. I did this in my power. I don't mean you have to be self-effacing. I just mean that don't do anything alone. I do everything with God, and if the sun comes out, I feel it's God who brought the sun out, not me that willed the sun to come out or the clouds to disappear. It wasn't so much my positive thought that did it. It was my trust in God, and my goodness, he came up with something wonderful, and very often not what I expected. In other words, it's not something I could own as my triggering. Of course, I trigger it when I pray, and I say, you know, I feel so ill, Lord, please heal me. But it's him that heals, it's not. I can take a positive thinking approach. I am well, you know. And very often a mantra is like that, isn't it? You know, what we repeat in the Christian songs is usually some adoration. Love you, Lord, you know. Or what shall we say? My soul longs for you, my soul longs for you. It's not something I'm creating, it's I'm looking to you, Lord. You are my God, you are my friend, you are my everything. I mean, it is the case, isn't it, that I and my Father are one is different to I am He, I am He. Blessed Spirit, I am He. There is a difference. I'm not quite sure what it is, or if I'm wanting it to be different. Well, I came to this sort of conclusion, tentative conclusion, but pretty strong, because I realized that when I listed the miracles in my own life, they were the miracles in my life. not the miracles I performed. Whereas I'm thinking in terms of Paramhansa and his Guru line of the miracles they perform. It's Babaji materializes a palace for Lahiri's visit to him. Lahiri heals Paramhansa when he's a kiddie. It's an Asiatic cholera. When Mum says, look to the photograph, look to the picture of Lahiri. And, it's very much Lahiri did it, not God. A slight defence in saying yes, but they're incarnations of God, you see. I am giving God the glory, but it doesn't hit the reader like that. I mean, not unless they come from the spiritual persuasion of the writer already. And they don't. They come from a world where, I make a cup of tea and God decides whether it's sunny or not. I can't decide whether it's sunny or not, but I definitely was the one that made the tea. I chose to do it, and I went out in the kitchen and did it. Well, yes, God made it possible, I agree, but, perhaps if God exists, do you see it's different? What are the miracles I want in my life? Oh, the love of God, the overall of God, the loving kindness of God, the synchronicities, the lovelinesses that I just couldn't even conceive of, like at least two of the wives that were fully in love with me. Oh, what a gift from heaven to my mind, you see? Yes. Let me pause. And I'd just like to add, at this particular point, the main theme of this, the miracle content or the types of miracles of this recording, well, it was something that occurred to me when I didn't have the use of the phone to record into myself, because my daughter had it. She was playing with it in the other room. I don't know what she was doing, I'm afraid, but I let her play on it a lot, I must admit. Well, it's the modern world. I'm not sure as I can beat it, really. And especially being a one-parent family, it makes it much harder. Well, a divided family, because the more pressure you put on your kiddie, the more they swing to the other partner. It's a bit of it's a testing thing, really. Anyway, that's beside the point that I'm trying to make, which is I didn't have access to the phone. I could have tried writing the whole thing down, but then that then would have required dictating it, and it would have just lost its reality and life, its vividness. So I thought, well, I'll remember that, and I'll when I've got the phone, and it only really strongly occurred to me this morning, now laying in bed, that's what the thought was when I was doing some Kriya just now. I wanted to point out the difference in the miracles referred to in Kriyananda and Ananda generally, compared to the miracles actually we tend to think of in charismatic Christianity, which is the wonderful things that God's doing in our lives. They are a sort of increase in sensitivity to the goodness of God, Gosh, what a lovely holiday. Didn't expect that, did you? That just wasn't that a nice meal? Fancy you thinking of making so-and-so. I mean, you could say giving everyone the glory, but we're really thinking, wow, isn't God wonderful? He's steering what we're doing, and it's miracles in relation to the love of God, as opposed to miracles in relation to the avatar, the great master, And that's, if you think of it, majorly different if the avatar is not really an incarnation of God. Of course, if he is, which in fairness that's what the Christian religion's done with Jesus, they've said he is God. So when he raises the dead, we're giving him the glory, Jesus. And that's all right because he's God. Is it all right if he's a child of God, not actually God? Well, both religions would say it depends how much oneness he is with God. But I'm not happy with it. I really am not happy with it. I can't quite make it clear that there's a difference to me. You could say it's a difference because of my doubt as to the authenticity of their avatarship, be it Jesus or Paramahansa or whoever. I don't like it. These avatars seem extremely human. Even in the story of Jesus, Jesus seems a bit less than God, not to mention him saying, and in 3 days I will be perfected. You know, none is good but my Father in heaven. I mean, doesn't look as though he's of that opinion that he's God. He's the Son of God, a Son of God at that, not the Son of God. He wants us all to be born again. That doesn't mean to say we're challenging God for the throne, you know. And it's not that sort of dimension anyway. I don't like this. The essence of truly loving is indeed a oneness, but it's a oneness of sharing and, well, trivially speaking, you're allowed your individuality and I'm allowed mine. But we're in harmony because we love each other, not because we've welded the two together and they've no choice but to think as one person or something. I mean, they're not one, they're many. If you look at life that God has made, it's not just one life on this planet. It's trillions of beings, creatures and people, and not to mention the trillions of different spirits there may be in however many universes we're talking about. The simplistic drive of the statement, thou shalt love the Lord thy God as a principle with all thy heart, soul, mind and strength and so on, is specifically saying this is what you love, not everything, not anything other than this. And an avatar is other than this. You know, Babaji's not coming across as quite the same as Lahiri or Sri Yukteswar or Paramahansa, or indeed Kriyananda. They are unique in their view of God and his creation. The simple thing I read yesterday, Kriyananda realised that his communities didn't work too well if you simply had the board running the community as perpetuating, choosing the members, because it meant that the leadership of the community was not really responsible for the changing needs of the members. On the other hand, if you make the community subject to the will of the members, very democratic if you like, then of course the will of the original master is diluted. By definition, you're saying the needs change through time, that the master's words are not necessarily appropriate to the new circumstances. Wow, that's a bit of a modification to the obedience approach, isn't it? Necessitated by the fact the master's not around to do the changing himself. I've got the responsibility of how I set this up. Which one do I go for? They both seem to have their problems. But to come to my point, and I'm just adding here that realising this morning that the point I didn't manage to make was so and so. I feel I'm thankful to God that it's come to my mind. I wanted it to come to mind, but I couldn't think what the actual issue was that I wanted to dictate when I didn't have the phone yesterday. And I couldn't think what it was. And then I'm doing the Kriya and it suddenly occurs to me, that's what it was, wasn't it? But do you see, I feel it suddenly occurs to me, not that I have willed to find it and I've now found it. Look at my amazing powers of attracting miracles. No, I feel, that's it, God, yes. And I want to be thankful to God for it because it's His miracle. Very much so. I'm now officially giving Him the glory sort of thing, in a recording, but I don't mean it quite like that. I mean that the miracles are, I do mean that. They are to the glory of God. Whereas the miracles in the Ananda and probably the SRF readings literature are probably to the glory of the Guru or other similar Gurus. That's the difference. And I think it's a mistake. I think it's astray. It's not the road to happiness. It's a byroad. It's not as safe as... I don't want to be seen as the miracle man. I want to be seen as the person that loves God, and this is the way to do it. Or a way to do it. It doesn't have to be my way, for goodness sake. But that loving God is the important thing. Not the astonishing miracles associated with my name and my ministry. God rescue me from that. Thank you, Dad. I'm sure you have. The very fact that you've made me alive to it. Thank you, lad. Certainly helps, doesn't it? Love you, Dad. Thank you, Dad. Wow, what a recording. Thank you, Dad.